Greetings, fellow armchair Imagineers. Tiki here.
And Blue Dragon 5.
And Santa Claus.
Dragon Wild 2.
And ladies and gentlemen, we find ourselves on the cusp of Disney's big venture into the world of streaming, even courting a war in the process. We thought it'd be nice to stay up to date on the ever-growing catalog and rule on what's a must or a bust on Disney Plus. And tonight we're talking about the new Taylor Swift concert. Yeah! Woo! Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
I heart Taylor. Seriously, why is that even on Disney Plus, guys? Seriously, can we talk about that for just a hot second?
No, why are we dedicating time to this?
All right, no, in all seriousness, this is the long-awaited recap podcast for prop culture. Guys, oh man, let's just get into it. Can we just all agree that this is pretty much I'd say by all intents and purposes, the spiritual successor to the Imagineering Story in terms of Disney Plus docu-series?
Yeah, sure.
Yep.
God. Monkey saying, Taylor Swift, bring me my catnip.
See, now you look what you started.
All right. So yeah, very, very high quality show. I think Dan Lanigan is a fantastic host. Dragon, would you agree with me that Dan Lanigan definitely has a schnepp quality to him?
There is something vaguely schneppian about him. It really reminds me of this actor who was who I saw around a couple movies. He was in. You remember Billy Madison? Remember the principal from Billy Madison?
Sure. That was
he was in Big Daddy. He was like the social worker. That guy. He's in a couple of Adam Sandler. Really good actor. He's in Hunters as well recently. I love him. He's kind of like Dan Land's kind of like the younger, more optimistic version of that actor. I love him.
If we're talking about Dan Lanigan, I just want to say that it's really nice to see someone who's not, already in the thick of the an unknown. I might say, kind of get the spotlight, and just his passion just really comes through.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what I love about him.
There's something very likable about this man. I really dug.
He just seems like one of those big, lovable goofballs.
Yeah.
All right, so we got some comments here from Claude Karinga. Nice to see you, Claude. Lights, Muppets, Lights, Music, The Muppets, Unscripted. Yes, guys, very excited about that. Announced for July 31st on Disney Plus, an improv Muppet series. Jacob and I actually saw Brian Henson's Puppet Up at Not Scary Farm last year. So that was maybe like an R-rated version of maybe perhaps a taste of how this new Muppet show might work. Perhaps. It was interesting nonetheless. We saw it twice. We liked it so much. So, all right, let's see. And yes, Phineas the Ferb, the movie as well. Lots of stuff coming onto Disney Plus, folks. I think it's fair to say that Disney Plus is kind of in a new wave of content right now, and that's kind of refreshing because I feel like early 2020 has been really dry for Disney Plus in general. And not only this, but we're also going to be talking about the Disney Gallery Mandalorian stuff once that's all wrapped up. And oh boy, Dragon, you and I were dying to talk about that Filoni bit.
Oh, I know.
You know what one I'm talking about.
I'm very aware. It's so good. It's like mind-bending.
And not to mention the fact that apparently they'll be bringing the Simpsons in the original aspect ratio too.
Yep.
Well, that's
basically they've been trying to make up for the lack of Marvel recently. It seems.
I personally don't care, but it's apparently.
I'm just saying, like that should have been like a quality of life improvement from day one. It's whatever.
Point being, Plus is on the healing path so far again,
and it still doesn't work on my phone.
Well, wait. Let's just. We'll screw all progress then. Let's just be reductive about it. But sure.
All right. So,
anyway.
Anything else you guys want to say about this show before we dive right into it?
Nope.
Dragon, any thesis? Dragon?
Is he gone?
Maybe. I guess so. Okay, well, I guess without further ado, folks, we're going to get right into the episodes. Let's start with episode 1. Mary Poppins!
Yay.
All right. So this was a really emotional one for me, guys. Just kind of like how old these props are. I think they made a really interesting choice bookending this with Mary Poppins and the Muppet movie, because Mary Poppins is easily the oldest film that they cover. And then Muppet movie is one of the older films they cover, but also one of the more sentimental and one of the more just like intriguing in the prop department. But oh, there goes Dragon. He'll probably be back, hopefully. What do you guys think of this episode?
I'm just kind of shocked to see that so much of this stuff is still in the condition it is, and it's in really, really good condition.
I thought it was a great way to start the series. I mean, what better way to start this than one of Walt Disney's crown jewels?
Yeah, absolutely. The carousel horse was a big highlight.
I think my particular highlight was the costume designer talking about the time he designed for Julie Andrews.
Mm-hmm. This episode had a moment for me that kind of set the precedent for the show, and I'm glad Dragon's back because I want him to hear it. All right, Dragon, we're talking about Mary Poppins, and I'm about to get to a moment from this episode that I think really set a precedent for the beat of this show, kind of like the heart of this show, if you will. And that's the moment where he hands the coat over to the actress who played Jane in the movie, and she just kind of like emotionally, I don't want to say breaks down, but really is emotionally affected by it. And that right there, that I feel like that was the finger on the pulse of this whole show, is like the emotional attachment between these props and the people that were involved with them, the people that were hands-on with them. I feel like that was what I personally really got the most out of with this show, episode to episode.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, that was a good part. Like, it's surprising how many people from the original movie they were able to get a hold of for this show.
Yeah. I mean, just in general, this show has just got an all-star lineup of like really awesome people. We'll talk through as we go through it. Rick Moranis, for one.
Yeah, right.
That was a surprise.
Apparently, I mean, I haven't really followed him that much, but apparently, considering he very rarely comes out to do interviews nowadays.
Yeah. Although he is apparently coming back for another Honey movie.
And I think that when they got in touch with him to do this and talking about the movie, I think that's probably when they asked him, and he was like, "Okay, sure."
I could see that. Yeah.
Because they had to make this, I don't know, probably a year and a half ago. So.
All right. Anyway, so Dragon, any thoughts on Mary Poppins?
Well, I mean, I'm sorry. Did we just go through all kind of the opening kind of thoughts on the series as a whole here? Or are we just kind of talking about kind of the Mary Poppins moment?
We pretty much went through the opening thoughts on the series as a whole, unless you had anything else to add to that.
I was just gonna kind of worm in there that I really love kind of a show and tell, kind of type show.
Gotcha. Right.
I got a lot of love for those types of series, and this is kind of like the zenith of that for pretty much the quality you spoke to with.
It's almost like
Mary.
a Pawn Stars without the slimy kind of like business element of Pawn Stars. It's the look at my cool stuff version of Pawn Stars.
Yeah, sure, like a toy hunter or something like that.
Right.
Like, you're going around again. There's a little bit of a travel log element of it, to that degree. But I'm saying is I love that there's an arc and a sentimentality, kind of adhered to this piece. That's what's really great about this. That's kind of what separates it, kind of makes it like the king of the show and tell shows, if you will, where it's like we have Dan Lanigan, of course, with the expertise of the kind of the pop culture prop of it all. Again,
speaking of travel, he definitely goes to New York a lot.
And he does. Well, then again, New York again. How you beat New York sometimes, It's like it's New York. You got a little bit of Hollywood in there, and of course, little stops along the way. But yeah. Anyway, so point being, it's that's a really remarkable thing about this. Again, per your Mary Poppins thing, to segue into that. We kind of established the whole quest to track down, the surviving props, like the snow globe, for example, the whole feed the birds element of it all. That magic moment of we get kind of get the ultimate saving Mr. Banks nod, if you will, Jason Schwartzman.
And I like okay, now that I actually remembered, I also like the part where I actually tried how the prop designer also designed for Mary Poppins Returns. He recreated the original globe, and then also they got to see Sherman playing on the piano again.
That's what I'm saying. That piano moment is. That's what I'm saying. I love there's kind of a great narrative thread within each of these that you usually don't get in kind of your average kind of like your show and tell shows or like a comic book man or like any of the other sort of thing. Someone brings something. Hey, let's talk about it, let's reminisce about it. It's not. It's a little bit more than that. Where you have the guy who just like the store like a janitor who basically I'm not going to throw this little prop away. I'm going to put it on a shelf. Or we're going to keep it nice. And of course, years later, it's the reason we kind of see it later in Mary Poppins Returns. It's a nice little web we weave there. And again, like this,
I kind of want to find out whose bright idea was to throw that snow globe away.
well, and sometimes it's about they're not thinking longevity, they're thinking about storage. We gotta keep only so much, and we gotta tear down sets. We can't keep everything. But of course nowadays, at a certain point, thanks to go to Royo, we're like, hey, we're keeping because my brother's passing. We really gotta appreciate kind of what we had before it's gone. In that sense, like let's kind of celebrate these props and kind of the empire that we've been building, stuff like that. Really. Really nice. And again, just kind of the multi-generational kind of like a Richard Sherman kind of Mary Poppins effect. I feel was kind of like a great heart of the piece as well. So that was...
oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, the Feed the Bird story is one we've heard before, but it's definitely a story worth telling over and over.
Yeah, but again, never like that. Never just kind of like that hat on a hat that we've had it like this that we've heard about, like Richard Sherman tell the story, but not like going into the office connected by that snow globe that's sitting on that piano.
Yeah,
with that guy who played Richard Sherman in that movie that celebrated Disney.
Yeah.
All right. So that leads us into episode 2. Tron. This was one of my personal favorites, guys, because when I was going into it, I was like, how the heck are they even going to do this?
It's kind of funny because it's about as far away from Mary Poppins as you can get.
Yeah, but I love the episode order on this, though. I really do feel like the episode order does a great job of switching between, like, fantastical movies and animated movies, and more realistic movies like Pirates and Narnia. I feel like we really get a good sampling of like the different types of props that are out there for the different genres of film that Disney produces.
It's kind of interesting to like, and I think one of my personal favorite parts of the Tron episode was like the one matte painting in the entire movie.
Mm-hmm. No, there were so many parts of the Tron episode I was fascinated by. Just in general, I love the story of Tron. I love the fact that Tron is kind of like this underdog Star Wars franchise where, it means as much to people as Star Wars does. It just doesn't have the wide reach of appeal as Star Wars because it's so heady and like weird and sci-fi focused.
I really like how this episode's framed around the restoration of things. So we had kind of like the replica prop in the first episode. Now we're having let's restore the original here with the Flynn's Arcade neon sign. I love that's kind of how we start the episode off, and that's kind of like the building thread of this one. Where we're gonna try to replace as few things as possible on this. We want to kind of when you turn that sign on, you want it all to be lit up, not just ins.
Yeah, that was a great kind of false start right there.
Yeah, but I love how we're learning a little bit more about the filmmaking process, along with kind of like just kind of basking kind of the propage of it all here. Like for example, we learn again, it's kind of like a great little kind of a 101 in kind of the old many different types of filmmaking, like the cubicle. Basically, the cubicle thing, where we see, I believe it's like Harrison Ellen Shaw. That guy, his father, Peter Ellen Shaw. He did these matte paintings, of course, in filmmaking. You have matte paintings that kind of flesh out the background, so you don't have to go broke on building the sets or building kind of like an extensive background shot. So it's kind of a really nice painting that kind of extends the cubicle thing. It never dawned on me until they brought up like, oh yeah, it sets up that when you go into the game, it's kind of life mirrored in kind of the fiction. It's kind of nice.
Yeah.
I just kind of like how the noted irony with Steven Lisberger is.
Yeah. Yeah, his experiences, I like the bittersweet quality to his thing. That was really nice, where he's kind of like, as Tiki said, kind of like, Tron was the underdog. And of course, it became kind of the cult favorite. And of course, we don't have that joke in the Wreck-It Ralph sequel. We don't have Toy Story in part without Tron.
We don't have a lot of modern sci-fi and CGI without Tron. Tron
was a big one for Toy
changer.
Story. That was a huge one for him. Without
Have
Tron,
we
you don't
ever
have that.
done a Tron retrospective podcast? If not, that's a shame, and we need to change that.
Yeah, we very well might have to. Mary, you did something on Tron Legacy. That's why I think we may have glazed over the original. But
Well, screw Tron Legacy. I mean, Tron Legacy is great. Don't get me wrong. The soundtrack is bitchin', but other than the soundtrack and the visuals, there's not a ton going on there.
right.
Andy, what'd you think?
Well, personally, this was the last one that I watched, and I just finished watching these last night. This is the last one I watched, and reason being, I've never seen the movie. It's never looked very appealing to me personally. You guys are probably going to roast me for that, but I too, because I know that I knew that going into the thing that most of the movie was all done in the computer. So, like you said, Tiki, I was kind of wondering how they were going to exactly bring back props. I knew they were going to bring out the costumes, but they can't just focus on that the entire time. So it ended up being a very interesting episode. I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad that it's up there.
I love the explanation for the discs, the religious explanation for the discs.
Yeah, the mandala thing. Where
Yeah.
And just as a side note, I was kind of surprised to see that Jeff Bridges was in it because I'm kind of on a Jeff Bridges binge right now.
Sandy,
that was a big Jeff Bridges movie, yeah.
Watch Tron, Sandy, seriously. I know it's a little outdated in the visual effects department. I'm not going to argue with you there, but no other movie looks like it before or since.
Nothing's ever going to beat the light cycle, man. Come on, let's be honest. I mean, the motorcycle just appears from the handlebar. That's beyond cool.
One can arguably say that a lot of modern filmmaking wouldn't exist without Tron.
Oh, absolutely. I think the thing with Tron that people kind of have to put into perspective is that it's a very hard sci-fi movie, right? It's not Star Wars where it's like science fantasy, you know. It's not like a space opera by any means. It's hard sci-fi. Monkey says somewhere there's an alternate universe where Rian Johnson made a Tron sequel. I want that now. I'm going to go a step further, and I would like to see Denis Villeneuve do a Tron movie. He's the guy who did Arrival and Blade Runner 2049. He's doing Doom. Well, what about Arrival, though? You liked Arrival, right?
Well, yeah, I'm saying the Arrival's good. I'm saying that Blade Runner movie, though. I disagree on that one. But
Arrival wasn't my cup of tea. That's that Julie Adams movie, right?
Amy Adams.
Yeah.
Amy Adams is the one for Arrival.
Sorry. Yeah. I don't know. It wasn't.
I don't know. What about Prisoners, though? Denis Villeneuve knows his stuff. He makes.
He did Prisoners?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Prisoners is great. Yeah. That's what I'm saying. The point's the guy's a little. I'm saying.
Sicario.
I think Blade Runner that's the miss out in his catalog for me. I think it does really good work outside of it. Though.
I think he's working on Dune now, right?
Oh, yeah, he is. That's what I'm saying. I think he's cut out for Dune. What they said they're gonna do like a 2-part thing with Dune. Anyway, we're drifting off focus here. Anyway, the point being,
I was really fascinated by the helmets.
Yeah, so speaking of which, with the costumes and everything, that was a really interesting thing, seeing the costumes up close and see kind of basically it's a Lycra suit with like the really neat symbols on it, like the light padding around it, and of course that bleeds into the helmet concept as well, and of course it's presenting that for kind of the people involved. It's quite nice.
Although I think probably my favorite part of the movie, part of that episode, is like seeing how this movie was made. Now I know other movies were made like it.
Yeah, but Sandy, it's true. That's why you should watch it, Sandy. The visual effects are outdated, but you're not going to get another movie that looks like it.
Watch it for David Warner alone, man. He's awesome in it.
I mean, technically at the time, it was pretty much groundbreaking.
It was groundbreaking at the time, yeah, definitely.
I mean, right now, it kind of looks like computer to like amateurs could probably do better now, but at the time, it was like these are like cutting edge.
There's still sequences that hold up, though. That light cycle sequence is never not going to be
iconic,
exciting. Yeah.
I mean, I'm not knocking it or anything. I mean, it's a classic for a reason.
All right. That it for Tron.
Yeah, pretty much.
Okay, next one. Oh boy, big one here. Big one, probably one of the iconic ones. The Nightmare Before Christmas.
This was a good one. This is the first. Basically, this is the one they keep advertising with it too, with like all the banners
for good reason, man. This is the poster child of this series, I think.
Yeah. I think For me, the three I was looking forward to most in this was Nightmare, Muppets, and Roger Rabbit. Those are the three. I was like, okay, I gotta get to those three. That's why I'm watching this series.
So I just with Nightmare, the thing that blows my mind is how large scale the sets are and how small scale the puppets are. I know that's silly to say because obviously that's how stop motion works, but it's so crazy how much detail goes into those little puppets.
A lot of the details and stuff I actually saw like on the DVD bonus features.
Yeah, but I really like how they overall with all the kind of the archival footage, they've reintegrated it so well into all these episodes. How like you're seeing a behind the scenes piece of footage in a way we've recontextualized in such a good way.
Yeah.
Like I really like the visit to Henry Selick where it's like where like they come to his house and they realize this guy made Nightmare Before Christmas.
That was
Again, Henry Selick's always the unsung hero when it comes to Nightmare Before Christmas. Everyone's like, it's Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. Like, yes, it is.
The unsung hero to stop motion, if you ask me.
You're absolutely right. Yes.
He also did Coraline, which is Leica's best movie.
I know that's the thing. Thankfully, he's getting props for that. But again, it always kind of goes under the radar because people are always going, it's Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas. It's literally in the title like that.
Oh, also, I like that Monkey brought this up. That Family Guy. They showed the Family Guy Tron clip. That was funny.
Oh, that was great,
because they technically can. Family Guy's Fox.
I wish they used the Family Guy clip of who was the bad guy from Tron.
Oh my god, I would have loved that.
That was like the only. I feel I was like the only guy watching that. I was like, okay, it's David Warner. Why can't I think it's David Warner?
This is gonna drive me nuts.
Yeah. But back to the episode here. So,
or what about? Or I also like seeing Danny Elfman's Jack.
Okay, I love Danny Elfman and then the speaking voice for Jack. I love how they're kind of like two sides of the same soul of Jack Skellington. That's what I'm talking about with how emotional these characters and these props are to the people.
I like seeing Chris Sarandon basically, hi old friend.
So that's the thing. I love how we go into like kind of the fathers of Jack Skellington this episode. We have like kind of the three men who really brought him to life, and of course Tim Burton kind of in the peripheries with the design. But the point being, you have the man who gave him voice, the man who gave him kind of song in his heart, and the man who kind of brought him to physical life, motion wise.
I was kind of surprised to see they got Chris Sarandon in the episode because you don't really see I guess I never really associate him with Nightmare all too often. He is technically the voice of Jack, but it's like
everyone instantly goes to Danny Elfman.
Exactly.
I wonder if today they would have just had Elfman do the whole voice because here's the thing: Sarandon did a good job, but again, Elfman he's the soul of the character, man.
I think technically in in a later game, Sarandon actually did learn how to properly sing as Jack.
Okay, that's good.
Yeah, I know Sarandon does the voice in the ride and everything.
And Sarandon does also voice him in the Kingdom Hearts games too.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think Sarandon, like I said, I don't think it's as simple as just Danny Elfman being the soul of the character, though I understand what you're saying. Like I said, I think it's more nuanced. I think Sarandon and Elfman are kind of two sides of the same soul.
You're right. I'm just saying I wonder if they've ever considered I wonder if Elfman would have the confidence to do the whole voice, or if it was literally just we need kind of a recognizable name for Jack back then. It's kind of stuck ever since.
I think it's just basically serendipitous that they sound alike.
Yeah, that too.
I think the most fascinating part for me though was the snowy spiral mountain.
That was cool.
Oh yeah, and also I'm really jealous of the sleigh with all the reindeer and Jack.
Oh yeah, you mean the prop that Henry Selick has?
I love that Selick. He has that for a very specific reason. He has it because that encapsulated the movie for him. I thought that was such a sweet reason for all the things he could have had from the movie. And he had that, and you're right. It is the theme of the movie. That moment.
And to think when they said, I'm not sure if it was in this episode or a different episode, when they said that crew got to keep pieces of art or things like that, it's like, wow, how cool would that be to walk off the set with your very own Jack Skellington or Sally or something?
Yeah, that'd be cool. That'd be really cool.
Another part I liked is like there's nothing cathartic about. I mean, like there's a lot of things cathartic about working on a set for 2 years than taking apart 2 years of your work with a sledgehammer.
Yeah.
I love the bit with Elfman where we learn about. I completely forgot about this. I mean, I heard about this way back when, like, on like one of the commentaries for it was either Edward Scissorhands or was one of the Tim Burton movies way back when. But Elfman's Oingo Boingo days, and I love that the kind of the connecting theme between him and Jack that very much like Danny Elfman kind of looking for the next thing, kind of wanting
That was
something else.
great. That's
what I'm saying. I love how he's
That's another story I've heard before, but actually hearing it from the guy himself in the context is actually kind of brought new
That's what
light.
I'm saying. The recontextualization's so strong here with the narrative.
I mean, to be fair, a lot of these like behind the scenes stuff we have heard before, but
yeah.
The context in it actually kind of like changes the perspective of it, like seeing it through the eyes of Dan Lanigan himself.
Now, Sandy, I'm sure you appreciated this because it's really cool. It's like something it's there, but you kind of forget about it after a while. The degradation of the stop motion puppets in the armatures, like the idea that over time, if you don't maintain them properly, they're gonna disintegrate or turn like not to sell dirt, but basically they'll start to flake off or melt or
like when Danny Elfman said that Jack Skellington's outfit started melting.
Yeah.
That was horrifying.
I know. I was thinking about that. It's like, oh god.
Said that.
Like the maintenance, and you need touch-ups on these things. You never think about that, and you don't learn about it until these horror stories.
But at least he cares about it enough to consistently have it preserved.
Yeah.
And restored.
Right. Okay, next up.
Pirates of the Caribbean. Curse of the Black Pearl.
I love this. What I loved about this one was because I'd never known that they had filmed this out on an island and had hired all the basically the population on the island to be extras and crew members, because they did a very similar thing with Jaws. They hired the people who lived on the island to be in the movie and work on the movie. So it's a very similar kind of setup, and I'm always a big fan of when big production companies do stuff like that, because it's just it builds a relationship between them and the people who they'll have to be around, whether they're working on the film or not.
And it's kind of a necessary thing you do, especially in the case of Jaws, where you have something like you don't want to tick off the inhabitants, like you're holding things up for them. You might be making life a little difficult for them. Better to include them in the process than alienate them. Like then like you messing with the shooting and everything.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's like, and I think one of my favorite parts of the episode was the mast from the ship, and like how the lady kept it in her bar.
Yeah, they gave it to her, and she was planning to steal it. I love the fact that there are actual basically kind of prop pirates on the island that are stealing props and like the bodies that were dangling, like the pirate's pants thing, like the what is it, like the what was the old man trousers rock that they had, like pirates be worn, all the corpses and the little sign there.
I love hearing about stuff like that too, where it turns out Disney just left the skeletons hanging there after production ended.
And they just kind of eroded into the wind over time. Something happened to them.
Or again, no, they were stolen. People stole those bodies.
Oh, right, yeah.
It would just been funny if they just left them there, and people asked about it, like, why are there bones over there?
Okay, let's see. Oh, I love the rubber hat trick. I never thought of this sort of thing. That was brilliant. The idea, the costume,
that was
basically after Johnny Depp would go in the water so many times, and the hat sometimes would sink or something would happen to it. So it was making a rubber hat, and it looked so seamless. You would never know the difference. It's great.
That was cool.
And you know
the
what?
Scale.
This episode just really gave me a newfound appreciation for this series, because I've always been a defender of the first two Pirates of the Caribbean movies. I say what you will about the rest of them, they vary in quality, but I think the first two really, really lived up to that kind of epic scale. And this kind of came at the height of I feel like between this and Lord of the Rings and Harry Potter and Narnia, it was kind of like another new Hollywood in the early 2000s with these fantasy epics. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Oh, and the part with the cursed Aztec gold, they actually incorporated into the ride itself.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, when he actually got to go, like, walk onto the ride, that was neat.
Yeah, it's always cool when they're able. You always hear these stories with to see it actually happen. You can walk on like the ride. That's awesome. But the scaled ship, man, like how they actually have a ship almost, basically like a live, like a giant
that
miniature
was really
version of
cool,
the.
yeah.
I love just the realization of like, oh god, the realization how are you going to transport this thing? So they have to like have the mass, and when they're bringing it from point A to point B, they had like a guy with this dangerous job of like lifting the telephone wires. Sure. Oh god, that's terrifying.
Really quick, I like this comment from Monkey. He says, "Is the melting man puppet melting?"
Well, probably.
And melt man with the power to melt.
Oh god, I missed that show, but yeah.
All right, that it for Pirates?
Well, one thing I want to touch on.
Yeah.
I love how. Well, two things actually. I love how
Go ahead.
the ship, one of the ships they used for the movie, is an actual working ship that's still around and people will actually ride on.
Well, pretty much all the ships. A lot of the ships that they used in the ships were in the movie were actual ships, just repainted and remodeled for the movie itself.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. They used actual ships. That was really cool. Because you look at the movie and you think, wow, these ships look, I mean, this is legit. I mean, this must cost a lot of money, but it's really fascinating. Also, the fact that the what's the title? The guy who made the swords, the swordsman, or whatever his business title is.
Blacksmith?
Yeah.
I don't think that's it. No.
I mean, I think he was a swordsmith.
Swordsmith, yeah, swordsmith, yes. How he has the original Johnny Depp sword. He just has it. That was great.
Wasn't he also mentioned in the Narnia episode?
Yeah, he was.
Well, they call back that footage. It's we see the clip of the sword. We're talking about the Narnia swords. Yeah,
it's not the same guy.
Okay, here's Johnny Depp's sword. Yeah, it's sitting over here.
Okay, that it?
That's it. Yeah.
Okay. All right, episode 5, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
this is a good one.
This one for me, it had a lot of good moments in it. Of course, obviously the big one being the Rick Moranis interview. Like, that might be one of the other headlining things of this whole series is that they were able to get Rick Moranis.
The Goldbergs have been trying to get Rick Moranis, and no luck on that one. I mean, everyone loves the Goldbergs, and he says no to those guys. Like that means Rick Moranis means business, but not to the mouse, never to Disney.
Well, technically, the Goldbergs is kind of Disney in a way too.
Well, there goes my point out the window, but you're right. Yes.
I mean, and I have a confession. This is the only movie of this bunch that I have not seen, actually.
Oh, really?
Dude, I haven't
You
seen
never
it
saw
in
the
forever.
original.
I haven't seen it at all.
You know what's funny? I saw Honey, I Shrunk the Kids once, but the one I usually go back to is Honey, I Blew Up the Baby. That's the one I keep going back to.
The one I actually go back to is Honey, We Shrunk Ourselves.
Oh, that one I remember that so nostalgic, but I could never stand it when I tried watching it. I don't know. It's just...
Yeah, I've got the nostalgia for it. I think that was the one they always played on Disney Channel, I think.
Because I remember the trailer for that always weirded me out as a kid, just seeing like I think they were like on like a dip or something. It was like I hate when they get shrunk onto food. That's always the scary part of it for me.
All right. I got to admit, I think this kind of had a similar structure to the Tron episode with the shrinking ray. I just feel like the shrinking ray maybe took up a little bit too much of the screen time in this episode, and that's my only kind of nitpick with it.
I disagree with that because this is just for me, mind you. But I love a good restoration story. It's one of my favorite documentaries and my favorite stories is there's this Back to the Future documentary about it's called Out of Time: Saving the DeLorean Time Machine, and it's about basically this guy who was tasked with restoring the actual DeLorean because it was kept at Universal, and he was the one they used for the tours for the ride and everything. Basically, where they would have the guy dressed up like Doc Brown, kind of you run around and everything, and basically it fell into such disrepair it was embarrassing. So they were fixing not just like a replica, like the actual DeLorean, like that was in the movies, the only remaining Back to the Future car. And so, apparently, a restoration job like that being approved by the creators of the thing, so it kind of had something a little akin to that here. And I really loved it here. The idea of the shrink ray logically it would be altered per the 3 films if using the same shrink ray, and getting the okay to restore it to the original kind of pristine, like when that baseball hits the thing, sort of shrink ray by Joe Johnston himself. Man, Joe Johnston, the man who brought us Captain America: First Avenger.
I totally forgot that Joe Johnston directed Honey.
Yeah, me too. I'm with you. I completely forgot about that too.
He also did the Rocketeer in Jurassic Park 3.
That's the thing. He did that. He designed the Iron Giant. He's the one who kind of came up with the final design. We don't have the Iron Giant looking as good as he does without Joe Johnston kind of giving that final pass on it. He worked on Star Wars, as they kind of touch on here.
He's like I worked on a space project. Turned out to be Star Wars.
Yep, and Pagemaster. He did live action segments for Pagemaster, and he worked with Ed Begley Jr. in that. Tiki. He played the father in Pagemaster.
Man, Joe Johnston's all over the place.
I know, right?
And he just he loves cars too. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's why you have like the Red Skull's giant car in First Avenger. That's the car guy I love.
Well, speaking of similarities to previous episodes, how they brought back the kids with the anti-head.
This was a really nice one when we brought back kind of the surviving part of Auntie, and just seeing them all. Of course, they had built such a bond with the prop in that film, and of course, the reunion of said relationship, quite nice.
Even if it was just a head.
Oh yeah, still, it's better enough.
You know what I really like? I think I should probably touch on this now. What I really like, something that this series does, is because you always hear these names. Oh, Rick Moranis, Joe Johnston, all these different people or Henry Selick, these people who they seem so big and oh wow, they must be living a high life. They're so cool, but then they get them on camera. It's like no, they're just normal people, and it's like they age and they gain weight, so they're just normal people who.
Moranis was so casual in his interview, man. It was nice.
Shockingly casual. Yes, I know, because given how aloof he is in terms of not doing interviews, I was expecting him to be a little bit more quirky, for lack of a better word.
I love how defensive he got about the watch. I didn't break that watch. Someone else broke that watch.
And I love all the things he takes from these movies. It's prop glasses.
Yeah, well, it's an easy way to get free glasses. And hey, glasses that are in a movie. It's a little something in your back pocket, literally. Let's see. Okay, so something again with the design of the shrink ray, paring down. Love how we have their 3D print down the nozzle because the nose piece got lost. But I mean, love all the little details like that. The 1960 dictation machine remote. That's they make a remote by taking pieces off of something else. That's how they made it. That was kind of recreation details. Like a Gaga for right there. Yes. Oh, and the mystery tapes. How awesome was that? The guy who was doing the refurbishment on it, he saw the VHS tapes and he wouldn't say what was on them. Yeah. Let's see. Phil Tippett. We got a little bit of stop motion. Well, more stop motion here.
Oh yeah, speaking of stop motion giants.
Oh yeah, of course,
RoboCop. The Scorpion was such in good condition.
Yeah, I know, right?
And the good old dinosaur supervisor himself.
Yeah.
All right.
It's really crazy what that Scorpion's made out of. The skateboard wheel material and the ball bearings. They were breaking down the material, what goes into making these things.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. It just goes to show you can make something cool like that out of anything, really.
And the baseball too, a little silly little woodburn mark in the baseball. It's a huge pivotal part of the movie. The movie doesn't happen without that baseball, and again, signed by the cast, a little woodburn mark in it. Right.
Okay, next up we have The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. Okay, I'm going to probably go out on a limb and say I'm the most familiar with this movie out of the 4 of us.
You are, sir. Yes, you are.
Spacey. Wrong.
Oh wait, so someone else is familiar with it then?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Right on, Jacob. Right on. So we're kind of split down the middle here. I wasn't sure. This is probably the most niche movie out of all the selections. I remember this movie being huge when it came out, but no one really talks about it anymore.
I loved this movie as a kid.
Yeah. I read the books. I mean, I love the movie so much. I actually read the books, which is actually at the time for me rare.
Mm.
And basically, whenever there's like a rainy day or a snow day or a movie day at school, this is pretty much the movie that they played.
Oh, nice. So I'm going to give you guys. What do you think of Richard Taylor?
Is he the Weta guy or is he?
Yes, the Weta guy.
I love learning about. I love the little sword mystery we had at the start. Like, why is this sword missing a tip? And of course, you find it's probably one of like the impact swords. And I thought that was really neat. They're really informative. Of course, one of the last glimpses we might get at San Diego Comic-Con for a while, unfortunately. But
so Richard Taylor, I can't tell you how many hours I've spent listening to this guy talk about weapons and props and stuff on the Lord of the Rings commentaries and making of documentaries. This guy is honestly one of my filmmaking heroes, to tell you the truth. He's kind of like the Imagineering equivalent to Bob Gurr for me, where it's like, this is a guy that's like very, very, very zeroed in on one thing. And that for him, like, much like with Bob Gurr, it's automobiles and ride vehicles and stuff like that. Obviously, with Richard Taylor, it's armor and armory and weapons. And I love the passion that Richard Taylor has for it. I don't know. He's one of my favorite people in the industry.
And he's super down to earth, isn't he? From New Zealand.
Oh, absolutely.
I love New Zealanders. I just love them. They're great.
I think one of the coolest parts for me was like actually seeing like the Minotaurs and stuff were actually like realistic costumes.
Ooh, I also love the moment where they where they had the Lucy actor walk into the Narnia set for the first time.
Yeah,
it's like I really love like all the stuff that they pretty much did with like basically all that. And, like they had her watch it the first time, her reaction were genuine, and like her also seeing Mr. Tumnus frozen.
Yeah, that was the best part of the whole thing for me. Them reflecting on.
And they're like, Andrew Addison was like, she's gonna hate me.
If I'm not mistaken, I want to say that guy was one of the directors on Shrek 2. He's within the Shrek franchise.
He directed the first two movies.
Oh, there he goes. The first two. That's what I was thinking of. Because I know there was like a bunch of co-directors on one of the Shrek movies. I think it was two that.
I mean, I think he was one of the co-directors of the second movie.
Because I guess it was Chris Miller and Adamson. I guess those were the two.
And Conrad Vernon, I think, was also on the second one.
Right. Anyway, but yeah, seriously, that Mr. Tumnus moment is really great. Seeing the reaction again. That's what I'm talking about. Taking the archival footage, you're recontextualizing as kind of the main theme. You're going to hear recontextualization, kids. That's going to be kind of the main bumper sticker on this one. But I love going to K&B Effects. Speaking of kind of familiar effects houses, Tiki and effects guys, I've seen K&B do a whole bunch of stuff. We got Howard Berger, like not Greg Nicotero, but the other guy, Howard Berger. I've seen this guy's mug whole bunch of times, and of course showing off the McAvoy bust, which is amazing, man. See how punched in hair and literally took the makeup appliances and put it on the statue. That's cool looking.
I think this is the first mainstream movie that McAvoy was ever in.
I think so.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably. I mean, I don't know if it's where he made it big, but I don't think he was in a lot of major stuff before this.
All right. Let's see. Oh, I also love the actor who played the White Witch's minion and his reaction to the sled.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is gonna sound not bad, but this is gonna sound like why are you bringing this up? I love in that warehouse we saw like the other like the props and stuff. I love there's some prop vehicles and like just kind of ride vehicles. I assume we had like the Francis the Ladybug.
Yes, I noticed that too. Francis's Ladybug Boogie.
Yeah. I just wanted to call that because I could not notice it. Like, oh my god, look at that! It looks awesome.
I really do think it comes down to Jacob. I think you picked a fantastic moment for the thumbnail here, sir, because it comes down to, like I was saying before about kind of the legacy that these props share for the people that got to be involved with them. And, with these people, it's like, I want to say maybe, 10, 12 years down the line, 13 years down the line of when this was shot. I think Chronicles of Narnia was shot in, 2005, I want to say.
Yeah, that's when it was released, at least.
Okay, so it was shot in probably 2004. So, let's say it's been about 14 or 15 years, removed from these costumes. And I don't know. First of all, I kind of laughed where it's like you got Rick Moranis, but you couldn't get freaking Edmund.
might have just been busy or unable to come over.
Well, I don't like how busy can you really be? Let's be honest.
I mean,
he's Edmund.
But no, seriously, it's probably like, we had to put some money elsewhere. Like, let's put in the Rick Moranis side of things here, and let's fine. So 3 of the kids, it's fine.
The money that I'm kind of surprised they didn't spring for was Tilda Swinton, because she's still the thing that people remember Narnia for, and especially the White Witch costume. So I'm kind of surprised we didn't see the White Witch costume featured a little bit more.
Well, maybe they couldn't find it, Tiki.
That's true. That's true.
maybe they couldn't find her.
Well,
Or
okay, maybe.
I don't think it's very hard to find Tilda Swinton.
Well, maybe she didn't want to be found, I think is what it's saying. But the point being, I like that it ultimately kind of boils down to the wardrobe after all. It's like not only do we see the actual wardrobe, but it kind of also boiled down to what's in the wardrobe, which would be the clothes for the kids.
well, the funny thing is they had the lion and the wardrobe. All they missed was the witch.
Yeah, that's the thing.
Well, they had the sled. I feel like the sled was represented.
No, it's kind of we touch on the 3. We touch on them.
Well, you had the minion of the witch, which is close enough.
Yeah.
But I kind of like how they actually did have like a stand-in fake Aslan.
Yeah.
Like they built an Aslan head and all that.
All right. Anything else, guys?
I think that's it.
Okay. Episode 7, Who Framed Roger Rabbit? This was the big one, guys.
Yeah.
This is one of the ones. This is like pretty much the main reason why I wanted to watch this.
Yeah,
I think it's the main reason why a lot of people wanted to watch it.
Who can say no to Roger Rabbit? Let's be honest.
And again, to be fair, a lot of this stuff, like especially like the little go-kart, I knew about like from the behind the scenes stuff, but it was so cool just actually watching it in action.
We didn't know it was still around though. That's what I'm talking about. Like, oh
Yeah.
boy, and
Seeing him drive around on that was like, oh god, that looks like so much fun.
kind of basically the undercarriage of Benny the Cab, essentially, just seeing kind of that being driven around. And here's the cool thing, I also had a little added thing here. Charles, Crowell?
Fleischer?
No, not Fleischer, the other guy. I'm talking about the stunt guy who actually owned the Benny the Cab car. This guy, I love that. He was Michael J. Fox's stunt double from like Back to the Future.
Yeah.
I knew about this guy from the Back to the Future 3 commentary because he did the hanging stunt for Michael J. Fox, which well, he did some of that because unfortunately Michael J. Fox was in mortal jeopardy during that scene, so not enough of that scene. But when he's being dragged through the street, that's him. But when he's being
He actually kind of does look like Michael J. Fox even now.
Yeah, he does. He does. I love how we frame things around the handcuffs, and the handcuffs I think are the perfect symbol for the movie because again, that item, the way it's designed with the whole spring-loaded kind of like hovering effect on the one handcuff, again, perfect for the blending of live action and animation. It's like half your actor, half the animated actor. It's perfect.
Speaking of which, I'm just honestly taking a peek back and they couldn't get. Surprisingly, they didn't get Robert Zemeckis.
Yeah, well, Zemeckis, Zemeckis these days, he's a little bit more, maybe humble, I guess that's the word you want to use. The point being is that Zemeckis isn't really about the spotlight these days. Most recent thing I've seen him do
I also feel like Disney maybe had a little bit of a falling out with Zemeckis over Mars Needs Moms.
Yeah, maybe. So, Andreas Dejas.
Yeah.
Seeing him draw Roger was like so interesting.
Yeah, and I love
he just did it so effortlessly.
I love the connect with Lanigan, where Lanigan loves Roger Rabbit, one of his all-time favorite characters, and he drew him a little picture of Roger Rabbit and he gave it to him. That was so nice.
He's his favorite Disney character.
Yeah.
I really like
the call desk thing was really cool as well.
Oh yeah, the milk called. Yes, that was awesome.
Speaking of which, I really like that we saw a little bit of the animated film that he's still working on, which I got a taste for when I volunteered at the Walt Disney Family Museum. There's actually a whole gallery set up for that film.
Oh, nice.
Concept art and whatnot.
I had no idea that Chris Buck worked on Roger Rabbit. I mean, if it was mentioned in the making of, again, I completely forgot about it because just seeing him kind of talk about kind of figuring out the shape and design of Jessica Rabbit, or kind of like in the approval stages of that thing where we modeled her after Lauren Bacall, which is really cool. And of course, over time, Kathleen Turner, she kind of influenced the design. Of course, the link between those two is really nice in the editing.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, it was interesting seeing Kathleen Turner reunited with Jessica again.
Yeah.
It's just like
She's very classy about the whole thing.
she definitely doesn't sound like Jessica anymore, but you can definitely tell she has the spirit of Jessica within her.
Certainly. I love seeing like the original patty cake photos and everything, where it's, like the newspaper and the patty cake photos, where it's like it has the original design of her on there. I forget if that's like
I was wondering why she looks different in those photos, and then they said, "Well, it's because it was original design." It clears that up.
Yeah, and that was actually how they actually shot that before the animation was done, and they couldn't go back to finish it. It's like one of the actually it's basically, as they admitted, it was just a filling mistake.
Yep. Okay, I think one of the best parts of this episode, Christopher Lloyd, man. Not only Christopher
absolutely.
Lloyd, the way we did this interview, shave and a haircut.
2 bits.
Oh my god! And literally, if you look, Christopher Lloyd comes in with a beard, probably intentionally, and then of course gets it all shaved off.
And he even does like some crazy Judge Doom faces.
I know
This
he
is the
did
most energetic I've seen Christopher Lloyd in a number of years, I think.
He still got it.
You know what's so crazy about that moment where he does like the judge, they does the face, and they show the clip of Judge Doom doing that face. It's like when you rewatch Roger, you realize, oh god, like these are all the great subtle tip offs that he's a toon, because he's making like a kind of a toony face underneath kind of the human skin. That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
When he put on the hat, man, it's like, yes, he's putting on the hat.
It's like, yep, that's Judge Doom, all right.
Yes, and of course, like the little blade within the cane, the whole 9 yards. He's coming in the suit. That's like, yes, that's that. It's all great. And of course, like the whole fan effect that kind of gave him like all the little. I'm surprised they didn't mention the blinking though, but they had like the glare on the glasses though, which I never would have caught. Shooting his face so many times, you get that little reflected glare in there. Just kind of block out the eyes because he didn't blink during all that movie.
Well, I mean, they're fake eyes. So
I know, that's why.
So should we talk about the elephant in the room here?
Oh, yeah, sure.
Charles Fleischer.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. Talk about a living cartoon character. Jesus.
That was probably one of the best moments in this entire first season for me. I loved because I just love seeing him. He's so much fun to watch.
It's like, and I just he basically is like a living cartoon character almost. Like,
yeah,
it's like no wonder they chose him to voice Roger.
Oh yeah. Well, that Zemeckis loved working with Fleischer so much he actually worked him in the Back to the Future too.
Right.
And also, and not to mention him seeing the Roger puppet again.
Oh yeah, I remember seeing those things all throughout the making of Roger. All the little rubber stand-in things, and that kind of gets things kicked off. And then we see that Fleischer still has the Roger Rabbit costume, at least parts of it. Suit was destroyed by government entities.
I like seeing all the stand-ins for like the Penguins and Baby Herman and stuff like that too. Those are things we don't really usually see in the making of stuff.
You know, it really hit me when we saw that. Again, this is what Jacob's been saying the whole time. Everybody's absolutely right. It's, again, when we take something we've seen before, the Bob Hoskins interview, we've probably seen it before. But again, the way we used it here, again, like it's such a shame. Like Bob Hoskins, he left before he should have, man. Hoskins, but you know what? We got to hear his voice amongst like all the surviving cast members. It was kind of something nice about that. I don't know. Maybe I'm crazy.
And I never realized. I was like, this is like goes back all the way to watching the original documentaries on the DVDs, but I keep forgetting that he does so good that I keep forgetting that he's actually British.
Oh yeah, that's. I love Fleischer even does a little impression of Bob Hoskins too. Oh, when he shows off the props too, like he's doing the old auctioneer gag, Fleischer, when he's doing like, and Mary, bring out the bow tie.
And he does it without missing a beat either.
Oh, yeah. I love how Charles just he just kind of plays by his own rules. He doesn't really care about anyone else's things. He's completely comfortable standing around a crowded set in a giant rabbit costume, making funny voices with his cheeks and
yeah.
And of course, guys, we have to talk about the trick blinds as well.
Yes, that was the thing at the end. That was like the banner image for all the trailers for Prop Cultures. Like you saw that, the minute you saw that Roger Rabbit like blind thing. Oh God, I gotta watch this show now.
That's one of the ones I tried to get for the thumbnail, but I couldn't find a good version of it.
But it's tempting, right? It's like, oh God, like that's a huge symbol from the movie. It's like in half the posters, even if I remember, like some of them.
Very tantalizing, yeah.
Yeah, because I just couldn't find a high resolution enough picture of it.
Confirm my memories here. Right? I had thought this proper like a recreation was at Disney's Hollywood Studios. Is that right? Never saw it.
Well, you know what? It's interesting that you bring that up because Monkey also brought up that there's a prop of Benny the Cab at Hollywood Studios as well.
Well, they are probably replicas if I'm a betting man, but I don't know.
Well, where's the Benny the Cab prop? I never saw that.
It's probably in the same area that the other one you saw was in.
Well, I never seen either of them. I never saw the window blinds or Benny the Cab, and I walked around Hollywood Studios for half a day.
Well, let me ask this: do you think it's still there? Is there a chance the prop?
It's in what? Did you go into One Man's Dream?
I did. Yeah.
Oh, you did? That's where it would be.
Oh, shoot.
But the thing is, sometimes they rotate stuff out. They rotate stuff in and out of there all the time.
All right. Well, we should move on.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So yeah, it's pumping really again, a lot of fun stuff with Roger Rabbit. Of course, the animation cells and all that sort of stuff. Seeing the original Roger Rabbit look kind of like a Trix bunny almost, like a Trix rabbit. Okay. Big show. Here we go.
Oh yeah.
This is the one we were all
Muppet
waiting
movie.
for. Oh god, one of the all-time greats.
Well, this is why I wanted to watch this series so bad. For obvious reasons, but.
So I love so much about this episode.
This is the best episode of the whole season, right? Can we all agree on that? Is that
we can, sure. And I think they made a really good choice using this as a season finale. I think it was a great kind of point to build towards.
If they need an excuse to make me watch through all of them chronologically to get the Muppet movie, they was like, okay, at first I was like, I want to watch the Muppet movie first, but you know what? It's not. I got to earn it. I got to start the first one. I got to get to the Muppet movie.
This is the first one I watched. I
had a feeling you're always getting to the prize in the cereal box, aren't you? You were smarter than me. Don't get me wrong. You were smarter.
Better remember this, Sandy, because it's probably the only time he's ever going to say that.
That's true. Yeah, bask in this moment, Sandy.
Anyways, go on. Say what point you're making about it.
Oh, I wasn't gonna say anything. I mean, I will eventually, but not now.
All right, so point being, at the gym, we start things off with the Jim Henson Company. I love our through line about it's the pursuit of the banjo, man. We're going after the frog's banjo this episode. That's
a perfect, holy grail for the final episode, I think.
And I love Brian Henson just kind of clipping the guy's wings as if he were Icarus flying around here. We're just like, I want, basically we learned the props for the Muppet movie were so, basically, a lot of them get repurposed. A lot of the wardrobe gets repurposed to other Muppet movies and other Muppet things. And
that's
basically,
very true.
The surviving props are very few and far between. They're kind of scattered around the place, and again, few and far between. Some of them caught fire, like when I heard the Electric Mayhem bus caught on fire, I was like, "Oh no, not the bus!"
It's like they found it was restored, then it caught on fire.
Yeah, last time you're ever going to see a thing, Muppets from Space Kids, but after that,
it's like. Yeah, I like seeing the costume designers for the Muppets. Like they actually designed the Muppet costumes themselves.
Yeah.
Like they treated them like legitimate Hollywood stars, and they gave them their own costumes.
Yeah.
So we start with the Drew Struzan stuff. Now, actually, I knew about this Drew Struzan stuff because there's a really excellent documentary on Amazon about Drew Struzan. It's about all his post-work, and it covers the Muppet stuff. But still, seeing the actual thing in person, kind of being shown the land again here, is the knowing that
such a beautiful piece, man.
Yeah,
I like the story that how they when Jim Henson was doing it, they go around here, design, pick out a bunch of pictures you like, and when they came back, it was all from Drew Struzan.
Yeah, that's the one wrinkle I wasn't familiar with within the story, which just sounds great. It's almost like Harold Spinney's how he's met his wife's story, where it's he dated the same girl 3 times, and he realized, oh god, you were all those girls. Let's see. So of course, I love how again the best part of kind of the Struzan thing it would be they have Jim Henson was so complimentary towards his work, saying, You draw the Muppets the way I feel about them, and you're basically made him the exclusive artist to the Muppets. How much of a higher compliment are you ever going to get in life than Jim Henson saying the way you represent my characters is how I feel about them? That's perfect.
Yeah. Speaking of somebody who's gone too soon.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, of course. By the way, we actually passed. We had the anniversaries last week.
Yeah, the Muppet Guys Talking Reunion.
Yeah. Oh, you watched it?
Yeah, oh yeah, I was there.
Yeah, I was there. I was there too as well. It was a lot of fun. Anyway,
Yeah.
All right, so I love the observation they made about the Studebaker being the kind of the link between the fantastical world of the Muppets and the real world.
It's like a bear in its natural habitat, a Studebaker.
that was the prep I was really eager to get to. I was wondering, are we going to find the Studebaker? We got to find the Studebaker, and I love that getting to the Studebaker, moving right along, little road trip, moving right along with Joel Holstein.
I knew there was no real chance that we'd see it, but the fork in the road is my first sight gag I ever encountered as a wee lad.
Yeah, there's the prop you want to find there. If they could ever
The fork in the road.
Yeah, the coolest thing ever.
Don't you know it's still there? It's still there, stuck in the road. They.
Oh, really?
No, I'm kidding. I'm sorry, Dragon. I didn't think you would take me seriously.
Oh god, he's silent.
I'm sorry, Dragon. I didn't think anyone would take me seriously.
And anyway, so all right, let's see. So here's a fun detail about the Studebakers. I love me the Studebaker. And I didn't really pick up on this until the rewatch it. Oh my god, the reason the Studebaker is kind of missing a lot of its colors because of the water-based paint, so they could change it up. And in case they wanted to change over the color, they could basically wash it off, and over time the watercolor is just completely faded. That's why there's like so much paint missing from it. So like these little, and the idea there was a camera in the bullet nose of the Studebaker. Really cool details.
Oh yeah.
I think the most emotional, barring the ending, the most emotional part of the thing was the El Sleazo Cafe sign.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, like the guy and his father.
Brian Knott.
Yeah.
His father, Robbie, here. Basically, the idea that Robbie, he was not only responsible for the El Sleazo Cafe sign, but he's half the reason Kermit the Frog rides the bike the way he does, because he came up with he was the guy tasked with puppeteering him with the giant marionette on a crane.
Yeah.
It's like, and I got like the story behind that. Like they were like, there's like the remote control bike worked fine once you got Kermit on it, it fell apart basically.
Yep.
And so they decided to do it with the crane, which obviously made film history.
Yeah, and if you watch, you can see the bike kind of floating off the ground in some areas.
Yeah, but again, that movie magic kind of blinds you a little bit while you're watching. It's like, look at that frog just on his merry way on that bike.
You won't believe a frog can bike.
Yes, you'll believe a frog can ride a bike, and then you're going to believe a whole bunch of Muppets can ride a bike in the sequel.
Oh god.
Yeah, that really Kermit on the bike. That's one thing, but all of the Muppets in one shot riding bikes. That's fast.
I still think that's the most impressive thing the Muppets have ever pulled off. Is that
it is really cool looking. But I love it's just such a touching moment in the story where like his father would wheel himself in front of the El Sleazo sign to bask in it. Like that's something like
Yeah, he had it out in the driveway or something. Or
yeah. I can only imagine. So, and then eventually it'd be moved into storage. But yeah, it'd probably be like out in the driveway. Unless you had like a really giant house. But yeah.
And of course, we get to the interview.
Right.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, go ahead.
Of course, we get to the interview with Gonzo.
Oh yes, a lot of Gonzo love this one. Oh boy! So not only do we get the plumbing,
guys,
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Not only do we get like the plumbing artiste hood ornament, but no, we take it a step further. We sit down with the great one himself, and I ain't talking Jackie Gleason, folks. I'm talking the blue great one. I'm talking Gonzo the Great.
And his chauffeur, Dave Goals.
Yes. Oh my God! Like the valet, Dave was not even the chauffeur; it's the valet.
Yes.
The guy who parked my car. It's like that was the funniest thing. Oh God, one of the great Gonzo moments. Like Dave Goals. Is he the guy that parked my car?
I love that guy.
I can't even. I mean, I can't even like. Obviously, me being in the same room as Gonzo at a certain point in time, interacting with Gonzo, this was great to see. Just because it was exactly the same kind of interaction that I had. You know, where the only difference with me is that I was one of the rare things where I actually saw Goals kind of puppeteering Gonzo as he was doing it. You know, and he wasn't trying to hide his mouth moving. He wasn't trying to be a ventriloquist about it. But the animation on the puppet itself is so lifelike and so vivid, and just Goals knows exactly how to puppeteer that puppet and bring it to life, that you forget that he's literally sitting right in front of you doing it. It's still to this day like one of my top 10 moments of my life, probably, is that little meeting with Dave Goals right there.
This is gonna sound kind of weird, but when he was sitting there, I'm sorry, T, please go on.
No, it's all good. So seeing something like that, it made me emotional. It made me emotional for, the time I spent with the Walt Disney Family Museum and getting to do stuff like this.
I had an observation about when Dave Goals was sitting down with Dan Langan. Did you feel like these two guys almost could have like brothers once removed or something? Just kind of seeing the two of them, because there's a little bit of a Golesian kind of charm to Dan Lanigan. I felt through this. I don't know.
They do have some kind of resemblance to each
Yeah,
other.
like a vague resemblance, like not like like a direct thing, but maybe like a cousin or something. I don't know. Anyway, so I love Gonzo's hat with the spigot and everything being reunited with Gonzo.
And that's the thing. I love that Gonzo genuinely has emotional reactions, and man, that's what I love about I'm sure that every Muppeteer has a similar connection, right? But I feel like Dave Goals really embodies it, especially because he's one of the few that's been on since the very beginning. And and he's really just, he does other characters, but Gonzo is his character.
I love what Dave Goals had to say about like how Gonzo was him. He was the outcast in show business.
Totally.
And like how all the characters have a piece of yourself, and then like Honeydew was kind of the Muppet designer of him, and he was just kind of the guy just kind of there, just kind of doing his thing.
I love when Gonzo looks at the spigot hat and just says, and just doesn't care, doesn't say anything. It's just a piece of clothing. It's like,
and then he goes into like this really heartwarming thing about Kermit the Frog. Like Kermit kind of brought us all together, and Dan Lang's trying to like continue the feeling. Yeah, like your little family. He says, well, you might want to check the genetics of that, but I think it's
like the Muppets, like they're treating the Muppets like they're actual people.
Yeah.
But and I like how they did bring up like the tribute to Jim Henson, like pretty much the only time they ever acknowledged that they might not be real. It's like, I know those people that like to walk under the stage, but that's about it.
I keep forgetting that was the only time they ever did it. When he mentioned it, yeah, it is the only time they ever did. There was something special about that.
If you remember, you're talking about the Muppets acknowledging Jim Henson.
Yeah, when they did the little special for Jim Henson, the little clip show, and basically it was interspersed with the Muppets kind of putting on a show for Jim Henson, and then they realized the letters, that whole thing.
Back in the Jim Henson hour, the Muppets talk with Jim Henson frequently. Gonzo and Kermit, and I think it was just Gonzo and Kermit, because the other Muppets weren't really in that show. But there was one special where they're all like talking together, and Jim's on the TV. They're talking to him, and then he makes them show him the puppeteers underneath them. It's called The Secrets of the Muppets. If you can go check it out, it's really fascinating. Right.
I get maybe it forgot, but again, the sentiment was still it's a rare thing they do. Period.
That's why they said in the special referring to we were just getting to know Jim, so that's what they were referring to.
Yes. All right, so of course the fantastic conclusion of all this, man. Oh, by the way, I love this too. I love how we keep building there where when we found the Gonzo hood ornament. I love that we saw the actual Kermit the Frog that was in the Muppet movie, the one that was holding the banjo. So again, we keep getting closer and closer as Kermit and the headband, no banjo, and of course this beautiful. Oh my! This is why it's the best episode, man. I was fighting back tears in this finale, man. 'Cause everything just came together so flawlessly. So this beautiful conclusion where Brian Henson calls, "Hey, you might want to come back here. I think we might have found something," and waiting for him is Paul Williams.
Oh my God!
Yes, it's Paul Williams presenting the band of all the people in this life.
It's so perfect. Like you can't write this shit, man. It's so perfect.
Yeah, and I never thought of it in Paul Williams saying this was like his version of like When You Wish Upon a Star. Like that was the goal of the song. And my God, it is the equivalent, man. It's like the only thing on this earth you're going to find parable to that song. It's going to be Rainbow Connection.
And if we just go back to the Gonzo hood ornament, I've been to that museum twice, at least twice, and I've never seen it on display there. I wonder why, because that's such a great piece of Muppet history.
I wonder if it's because it's damaged, because the whole it lost pieces of itself.
Well, she kind of did show she brought it out of storage.
Yeah, so. That's the thing. I wonder why it's being kept in storage, though. Do you think it's because it's damaged?
Could be.
Do they want to do a restoration on it? Like,
I mean, if
They
they
don't have
show
enough.
it on camera, then it seems like they'd.
I mean, if they restored it, it'd be more of a recreation than a display of the original prop, though.
That's
Yeah,
true.
there are some artifacts in the Jim Henson exhibit there that aren't exactly in the best condition, so it doesn't seem like that would exactly be the reason why.
maybe it was like a recent, like, you think it was maybe a recent acquisition? You think that's it? Like, it just finally came into possession recently?
Yeah, maybe they'll put it in.
Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it depends on when this episode was filmed, too.
Well, again, I can only assume like it was at least like a year ago, but maybe I guess like, I think Sandy said like what, a year and a half.
Well, I was there, a little over a year ago.
Yeah.
And
Well, there's a lot of travel, so it'd probably be on the year and a half side, just given how many places this guy goes to. Then you can only do so much travel within the year.
That's true.
I went back in July, and it wasn't there then either. So I'll have to go back sometime and see. I don't know.
In other words, you'll have to go back there someday.
It's just yeah, exactly. It'd be really cool to see in person.
Okay, but yeah, I mean, just come on. Just Paul Williams handing off the Rainbow Connection banjo to our hero that we've been following through 8 episodes. I mean, it's the perfect ending. It's a goddamn storybook ending.
And also, I love I learned something I never knew about it. The fact that the Colonel was supposed to be on a lily pad because it was so infeasible, they put him on the log. It's like, yeah, I didn't know it was like supposed to be the frog on a lily pad. That's great. And of course,
A frog on a log.
yeah, frog on a log. And I love the little details you get to see of the banjo close. I never saw the K, and all the times I watched the movie, I never saw the K on the banjo.
It's like I think I don't know if it was in this show or somewhere else, but like you kind of I think it was actually like in the Narnia episode, like all these little details that only the actors really notice, but because of the way the screen works.
Like the strawberries on the inside little pouch from Narnia.
Yeah.
So again, like basically what Paul Williams spoke to, what he and Lanny were speaking to at the end here, was really basically the best capper for the whole series, where he said that there's like a spiritual nature to the props, and like the actors and the moments, and like the people, like Jim Henson in a sense, kind of like you can feel the presence on these items, where again the history and just kind of the something magical about like again the actors kind of handling these props in the moments they brought to life, or just the indelible moments they brought to life. Just something really heady and really cool about that. And I love this like Paul Williams, and this cracked me up. Not only Paul Williams, he could have like at any point he could have like dropped the mic and left this scene, but what he did, mentioning the conversations he had with Jim Henson and Frank Oz while they were puppeteering, and Miss Piggy chewing them out, like, what's with the short guy? Just like, oh my god. Oh,
it's like there weren't just 2 people there were like 4 or 5
yes
people.
Like 4 or 5 people in the room, and just
But it just being Frank Oz and Jim Henson and himself.
and just like then Paul Williams just speaking the lyrics to the song to end out the whole series, man. That's a beauty. That's how you end it classy, man. That's how you do it. That's how it's done.
I do hope this gets a season 2.
I would be shocked if they don't do a season 2. They're crazy.
I mean, they hit a gold mine with these ones. So
That's what I'm saying. This is amazing. And plus, again, there's still tons of other stuff they could use.
I just hope it's not them bearing their lead.
Yeah.
All right, so guys, like I said, we do have some other stuff on Disney Plus to get to, of course, with the Mandalorian making of that's happening. We will cover that once all 8 episodes are out for it. Anything else dropping on Disney Plus recently outside of the Taylor Swift concert that broke?
Well,
the
again,
internet?
Muppets now, but
of course,
it's kind of most recent. There's that. Well, I mean, if we could ever all get on the same page with certain Star Wars shows that have kind of recently wrapped up, perhaps one day.
Clone Wars.
Yeah, perhaps Clone
I'm
Wars.
considering watching the last 4 episodes and just watching those.
Really?
Yeah, because I hear that's really all you need to know.
I don't like the last season, just the last 4. I mean, don't know, the last 4 is a big event, so I get your logic, but still.
I've heard, I know what the other 8 episodes are in the last season, and they sound pretty fillery to me.
All right.
Especially that Ahsoka arc.
All right.
Okay. Anyways. All right, guys. Go ahead.
I mean, a lot of that. I mean, All that stuff in the last 4 episodes wouldn't have the same weight if you don't even watch the previous 7 seasons that come before it. Though
That's what I'm saying. You might be a little lost, but you will do whatever you're going to do, I guess.
But I know the characters and I know the lore, so yeah.
That's a fair point.
All right. Anyways, guys, any final thoughts on this?
Commanders?
I think I've said just about everything. I mean, this is a great series. I definitely watched season 2, and I love the. I mean, the selection of films they have is just perfect. Couldn't be more perfect.
What films would you guys like to see in a future season? That's
That's
a good
an
question.
that's an excellent question.
well, if they get sent to Fox, Star Wars.
Yeah, that's a good one. Yeah, well, again, we could always go to. I remember where do they keep all the props? Because I know some of them are on Lucas's ranch, or on the
Industrial Light and Magic.
yeah, probably there too. Yeah, it's a
Yeah, just kind of reference the debate the other night, Tiki. Home Alone, that'd be cool.
That'd be fun. Yeah, yeah. Mary Poppins Returns. I'd like to see.
Well, I'm always down to go to another Muppets, personally, but
Of course, of
I think
course.
if they did Muppets
especially
Treasure Island, that'd be really fun because they had to do the same thing. They actually built a full scale pirate ship for that. So I'm wondering.
I think it'd be more honestly between the two. I think it'd be more interested in seeing Christmas Carol more than Treasure Island.
Christmas Carol would be a good one. Me personally, I want to see Great Muppet Caper. That's just me, though. That's
I want to see the motorcycle that Miss Piggy rode on.
yeah. Again, some of the luggage, like the crates they were kept in, stuff like that.
I'm surprised they didn't do anything from the MCU.
That's one we got. That's one we got to see. If they do a second season, we can at least have one.
Guardians
MCU
of the Galaxy probably would be
Maybe a
the one I'd go
Guardians.
to.
I mean, the closest they got to that was mentioning Joe Johnston doing the first Avenger.
Right.
Yeah.
Speaking of Joe Johnston, maybe the Rocketeer would be a good one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, that could be like the obscure pick, kind of like how Narnia was here.
Right. All right, guys. I think that's about. Anyone else have final thoughts on this?
Yeah, it's this is my kind of show for Disney Plus. Again, it's an exceptional kind of show and tell with kind of an emotional through line. This is how, and also something to mention too. Like, this is how you advertise your content without being obvious about it. Because some people could, if this was done improper, this is done without the heart and soul of it all. Here, you just would have like, "Hey, check out our movies. Here are props from our movies."
Right.
It could have been that way, but it wasn't. It was just the guy who was in the props, and he was already into props. He just had Disney ones. He now has an occasion to kind of go into the history of the Disney side of the collection. So that's like, it's kind of giving a good excuse for that one. So yeah, the point being, we just did this as good as you're ever going to do one of these shows. I'm convinced this was fantastic. I loved it.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for watching. Big thanks to Claude Karinga and Monkey in the comments. That'll do it for us this week as we holster our remotes till the next installment calls for the draw. Mono y mano, just Plus and us. Mary Poppins!